All right. We know.
Coronavirus.
No. God, Zoom. Stop being such a bitch. All right. Ready?
Oh yeah, ready to go.
All right. Welcome to Comics in the Making. My name is Ryan Holgerson. I'm the creator of Slackmatic, and I'm joined, as always, by Levi Erickson, the creator of The Big. Levi, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's amazing. It is amazing today. I'm excited to talk about what we're about to talk about so much.
What are we about to talk about, Levi?
Something I know something about.
So me and Levi are two people that have not just tried to make it in the creative field of comics, but we both have tried to make it, or are currently trying to make it, or have maybe made it on a small scale, in music. And we thought we would talk a little bit about the comparisons between being in a DIY band and doing DIY comics, and maybe where they differ and maybe where they definitely come together. Because there's a lot of comparisons. And I think you could make this argument with lots of different creative fields also. You could bring this to, well, maybe I'm a painter but I'm also a musician, or
Mhm.
I make jewelry but I also draw comics. And but we thought, us being slightly unique, there's plenty of other people doing plenty of other things out there, but we've both been hardcore into both of these things at one point in our life.
Oh yeah.
um so so Levi, I'm gonna throw it to you first. What do you think is the biggest uh comparison? What's the biggest similarity between doing a band and doing a comic and trying to get that into the public eye? What how are they most alike?
Um, I would say they're most alike in the sense that, you've got something that tens of thousands of other people have just like you. And you are faced with the challenge of getting the people to come to your creation over everyone else's. And I know that sounds super duper competitive, and that's especially in like DIY music. And I'm gonna just put a finer point on that. I've been involved in the hardcore punk scene, for as long as I've been like interested in comics. I won't say in comics because when I was young, and I leaned hard into the music and focused my energy on that. And every now and then I would draw something, and that lasted for decades. I just leaned so hard into the band side of it, and I think among the reasons are there's a big social element to, being in a band, and also when you are up there with at least another two, three, four people, that in a sort of way lowers the bar for yourself, because mileage may vary, but the output is the collection of the group. If you're making your own comic book, you're a solo artist. I mean, you obviously can be working with a team, penciler and inker, and you can kind of collaborate and lean on each other for strengths and weaknesses. But when you're a one creator show, it's all you, good, bad, and ugly. So that doesn't answer what you just asked me though. But I wanted to frame kind of like
That sounded like a difference, Levi.
that kind of
Please
frames
answer the
where I'm
question.
coming from. Speaking of band, we literally played a courtroom on Friday night,
Yeah,
a literal courtroom.
yeah. I've played there twice.
It was amazing. It sounded so good. All
Yeah,
all concerts should happen in a courtroom now.
you didn't use the elevator, did you?
Yeah.
You did? It was
Yep.
working?
It
It used
worked.
to break down all the time when I would play there, but that was a few years ago. Uh,
They had a bunch of signs saying don't hold the door open.
yeah,
It'll throw a breaker.
yeah. I
So,
don't care if I see a warning sign on an elevator. I'm taking the stairs.
dude, there's no way I was carrying that Marshall up those stairs.
Yeah. Oh, and they're so weird. They're like the small. They're like that big.
They're basically like a spiral, marble spiral
Mm-hmm.
almost.
Yeah, and the stairs are not tall,
No,
but
there's more of them.
it makes you really disoriented as you're climbing up those stairs or whatever. But yeah, it's such a great venue.
No, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so they're the most alike, you know, once again, I think I started answering the question to, to defend myself. If I'm gonna they're you're faced with a challenge of getting noticed.
Yeah. Oh, I think I no, I see where you were going there. Yeah, no, I think the biggest similarity is it's no easier to get your music out in front of people than it is to get your comics out in front of people. I think the only advantage that music has is music, the audience for music, just music as a whole, not a specific type of music, but the audience for music is bigger.
Yeah.
And so it's a little easier to be like, yeah, I'm in a band and stuff like that, than I draw comics. Because again, we could go back to our manga episode. What do people think of when they think comics in the West? They think superheroes and stuff like that. So if it's not the same, they're immediately that's what they're thinking, and I don't draw comics. But if you say, hey, I'm in a band and I play music, they're like, I like music.
Right.
It's not necessary, Now their next question might be what kind of music, and you're like, hardcore, street punk, whatever. And then they're like, well, I only listen to Cajun Zydeco music or something like that. So,
Yep.
but I definitely think there were similarities and frustrations trying to get our music out there, as with comics. But I do think I felt like I had a little bit of an easier time with music. Maybe. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I don't, I think, well, let's talk about this. So when you're trying to get your comic out there right now, the easiest way to get your comic out there is going to be online.
Right. Right.
But you still got to get that person to stop, and you still got to get them to look at your comic or click on a link or do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And music is also, you could put it online. I always put our music online, and try to get it out there. I'd give a lot of it away for free. In fact, we're on Bandcamp. You can go download all of our music for free if you want. It's name your own price. And to be honest, we would do name your own price, and we'd have people buy albums for like $20 and stuff like that. So,
Yep.
So for everyone that wouldn't pay, you'd have someone that would just go above and beyond.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a different subject. But where music had the advantage was, for me, was the gig. And
Exactly.
now it's only an advantage if you're good at it. And I've had my fair share of bad shows, but at this point, after doing it for a while, I can safely say, I'm a pretty good front man. I can hold a crowd's attention, and I've got enough jokes in my back pocket and can think fast enough on my feet in front of people to say stuff. We can get past a guitar being out of tuned and figure something out. I'm also a good enough guitarist. My whole band's good enough musicians to just work through it,
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
So
never call attention to a mistake on stage.
oh god, yeah, no. And the thing is, like, the people in the crowd, I think this is I know we're talking about comics, but the people in the crowd want to see a good show. Nobody wants to see you mess up, and it makes people uncomfortable when you mess up. So nobody wants that.
Yeah.
but the advantage I saw with music with the gig is if you did a good performance, it was like, this is what I can be.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could get those people on your side, or slowly, start coming to your shows. Maybe they're following another band and they see that you're playing again. They'll be like, oh, I saw them that one time. Yeah, they were really good. And they come see you again. That has the advantage over the comics, because comics is, I mean, it's even more of a marathon. We talk about the marathon,
Yeah.
and it's not like music doesn't have that marathon, but with comics, if you're talking about, well, now, posting it online is going to be your way to get it in front of people. They almost have to see it like a million times
Oh
to
yeah.
make it a part of their life. Because that, like, I mean, that's kind of what building an audience is. When we think about it, we are trying to make our art form a part of someone's life,
Yep.
to where they feel, I need to have this person's creation in front of me or in my ears on a consistent basis. And to do that, I'm going to give this person money,
Yeah.
to help them so I can continue to get that. Um,
Yeah.
but
That's the whole kind of it goes, cuts both ways with the music
right,
and the comics. And I think it's just easier with the music because especially if you're talking about like a scene like in a place like Charlotte with a handful of venues and a handful of bands, and there are people who are going to be there regardless, you know, of who's playing. Each band will have their following, and it may start with just your friends and maybe some of the other bands that you're buddies with, but as that starts to grow and now you're seeing this people you're used to seeing in one place, you get booked somewhere else, you're seeing them follow you to that place and round whereas comics, it's a different dynamic, but at the same time it like I've experienced this, I put my mini comic out and of course I had my wave, Levi's got a mini comic, so friends are buying it, you know um you know family, whoever, and then that wave kind of settles, and I've already exhausted those resources, and now I'm at the point where I need people who don't know me to get my book,
right. And that's the
get
hard,
excited about it.
and I think, and we've talked about this before, but um as artists, we are terrible promoters,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them, and a lot of us, and me included. And I'm always having to remind myself, we always have to think, we put something out and we think we've gone through our wave and it's over, and we're like, well, now, but the thing is, you still have, like, I'll still have people that follow my work who a year later, after I put out a book, go, oh, I didn't know you had this book out. And that's just part of, the social media and the algorithm and stuff like that. People don't, we think too much of ourselves. That's the problem. We think too
Mm-hmm.
much of ourselves. We think everybody sees everything that we put out there. That's
Right.
what.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I do my
And
weekly
so,
Facebook post, so
yeah, and so
where's everybody?
right. And so and that's just not the way it works. We know it's
Yeah.
not the way it works. We know that's why we're frustrated with social media. But in our head, we're like, oh, I already posted 2 posts about my book. I don't want to be annoying. You're not annoying.
Yeah,
Also, the people that follow you for a reason.
that's
They
right.
follow you because they like you.
Yep.
So and if they don't understand why you have to push your new product, then they shouldn't then they could go fuck themselves. I don't, like, then they shouldn't have been there in the first place,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
It
yeah,
takes
so
about as much work to, and this goes with the band thing, takes about as much work to promote as it does to make the thing.
almost,
You know.
and see, that's what's funny. I with the band, I was always way more uh okay with promotion. I would go out, I would staple flyers if
Hmm.
we had a show coming up in a new place. Uh it was, posting online all the time. I mean, a couple times a day, sending them to the rest of the band. You guys need to post this. You guys need to
Mm-hmm.
post this, and that's something that I need to bring to my comics. I think, now I'm not going to go staple flyers on the streets, but for whatever reason, that idea of promotion when it came to music came so much easier to me than with the comics.
Yeah,
It was like,
and
well, this is what you do.
because I think it's more defined where that audience is and where they're going to be looking for information.
Right. And that's,
Is that fair to say?
I think so.
Like music fans?
And I think it's hard for cartoonists maybe to find that audience sometimes.
Oh, dude. I've been a
And
comic fan my whole life. I'm sorry, cut you off. You know, but you know what I've never done? I've never read, comics interview magazine. I never read previews. Um, those sections of Wizard magazine back when I was buying it. I didn't read the inside baseball shit.
yeah,
You know, that's just, and probably, I should have. I could have learned more about the industry, but you know, you're not reaching me with that shit. And as Stan Lee famously put it, Marvel wants every sale they can get. So there are people who will be swayed to spend on resources like that and online resources that have taken their place nowadays. But the way you're going to get me is when I wander into the comic shop and I go, oh wow, I didn't know they were putting this thing out.
yeah,
Woo, let me get it.
right.
And
Well,
that's my fault, but that's the way I am.
no, and I think, we need to think more about the average consumer. And I think too much time is spent thinking about the way we think. And let's
Yeah,
be
yeah.
clear. Artists think different than the normal consumer. My wife is super creative, but she doesn't use that creativity like we use it. She doesn't write, she doesn't draw. She can write. She's
Mhm.
funny as hell. Um, but she uses that towards her chosen career and stuff like that. And uses the creativity in a different way. But when I have the arguments with her, like on like say AI and stuff like that, she didn't see it. She doesn't. She's like, get the fuck over it, you know. And so a lot of times when I think of like what's a normal consumer, I think about my wife because
Okay.
she doesn't create. She gets the stuff that she likes. She reads some webtoons that are like in a manga style and stuff like that. And I know because of the way Clip Studio works, I'm like, they are just throwing fucking backgrounds in there. I know they're not even making it their own. They're just taking it and they're just throwing it in there. I'll see her flipping through it and I'll be like, it's horrible. Like I can't, it doesn't appeal to me at all. And you know what? She doesn't care. And
No,
she's
100%.
reading it.
Yep.
We have to stop caring about this stupid shit. Like,
Right. And that,
because
you know,
they don't, the normal consumer doesn't care.
and that almost makes me think of like something else we want to talk about in another episode about the advantages of staying small,
Yeah.
and being really guerrilla about knowing your audience, I think comes into play over there, quite a bit. So make sure you keep that close on the table because we're gonna have to revisit that one,
Right.
that idea, without a doubt. So you put out a lot more comics over the years than I have, but we both have put out records and we both have reached audiences. And so a couple years ago when I made the decision to pivot away from video game stuff and get back into comics, I thought about like, okay, well, I wasn't even at a point close to printing. But 2021, I had a 4-page mini comic that I printed out on my own printer just to hand out for free. And I, booked the table at Heroes Con with the idea that I'm just going to go here and just get people to know that I'm here. I'm, not going to make any money. There's nothing I have for sale. Maybe some prints I had, but I'm not going to make any money at this. You know, this is just me running the marathon, as you say. Now, you know how that turned out.
Yeah.
You know, in 2021, you know, I wasn't there, but but that's still the idea. And then I started printing my mini comic at UPS store, and now I've got a 12-page mini comic, you know, roughly manga size. And I don't that first couple print runs, UPS store is way expensive. Don't go there to get your ship printed. It's a nice product, but don't do it. But I'm like, I'm not even turning over money. In some cases, lost money just because of the price point and so on. That's okay, because just like with the band, you know, especially when starting out, it's like, okay, we're going to go to Asheville and play this show, and everyone kick in for the hotel, or we're going to bunk up at someone's place. Maybe we'll make
God,
some
I had
noise
to
coming
drive
back,
back.
you know. Yeah, and shit. No. If I'm an hour out, I'm staying the night.
No, we did. We did. We played Asheville. It was a horrible show. But
Where was
yeah,
it?
we all had to
Well,
drive
don't say
back
where it
the
was.
same
That's
night.
not important.
I don't
Um,
even remember. I don't even remember. I
but
don't think it's there anymore.
yeah. Um, but so little by little, as the years went on and we started building a fan base, you know, everything that we got, every merch sale, everything we put back into the band.
Yeah.
And but we always set out, okay, we're gonna record a record. We're going to, you know, do a run of t-shirts. We're gonna go to Wilmington and play a show, whatever. Um, we went with the idea that this is how we're spending our weekend, and it might come out of our ass, but hey, we're going to the beach or wherever. We're gonna play a show. We're gonna see some of our friends. We're gonna have a good time. Each of us would easily spend that much money on a typical weekend just staying home. You know what I mean? Going out to a show, going out to eat, you know, whatever. So we're like, this is worth it to do it, because we want to do it. We love doing it.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
it gets to a
see,
point.
and that's it right there.
Yeah.
So that's it. So this is okay. So this is what we missed at the beginning when we started talking. But you finally got there. It only took us 30 minutes. The biggest similarity between music and comics is you're starting it because you love it.
No, that's it.
You're doing it because you love it. And my experience was very much the same with starting, and
Mm.
let's face it, compared to comics, price wise, music's a lot more expensive. You gotta buy an instrument, you gotta buy an amp,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta, and that amp's gotta be at least fairly good enough
Reliable.
to play
Depends.
in a small show. Um, spoiler, you do not need a giant cab to play almost any venue, but whatever, it's cool.
But it's
But
nice to have.
I
It,
had one. I had one
it's
for a
fun to
while.
have.
I had
I
one for a while.
I
I
got
don't
look
anymore.
I got looks when I rolled the marshal into that courtroom.
You piece, yeah.
You know, I mean, because the band, honestly, the bands were not in the same vein,
Oh yeah,
except for Jordan. She, even though
I've
it's
never.
different delivery, but same kind of intensity and same
Yeah,
kind of um, you know, whatever. But the other
yeah,
bands, it was, I mean, there was some like NPR fucking
yeah.
bands, like, you know, and
That's like our. Oh, should I name names? So we
probably not.
played. No, I don't care. We played. No, because it's not bad for the venue. We played the Evening News. Um, and it was on a Friday, and on that particular Friday they did two shows. So they would do like an early show that was in a particular whatever vein, and then they would do an evening show that was different. So
Mm.
we were the opener for the second show. When we got there, the closer for the first show was going on, and they had a banjo and an upright bass and piano, and we play angry nerd rock.
Yeah.
So we're standing there, and Jeff, our guitarist, is standing next to me, and he's watching them, and they were a good band. I enjoyed them. But and we're watching them, and he looks at me and he goes, "You did not tell me we were playing After Prairie Home Companion." I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know.
No, not to alienate any of our bluegrass and Americana fans out there.
Oh my brother-in-law is a bluegrass music writer, so he
Or
knows.
well, yeah. So like because that courtroom, the whole building, the whole old, it's all an art center, and every little office is a different art. It's really
Yeah.
really cool. It's so it has me looking at like real estate close to downtown Rock Hill.
Ugh,
So,
I looked at it.
but uh, I mean we're talking electric fiddle, or no, not fiddle, violin. This was
Yeah.
not fiddle. It was not played as a fiddle. It was a violin. And we're
Yeah.
talking all. I mean, and there were people that like, you know, my age, a little bit older, just kind of like your I don't know. And they obviously involved with the arts thing, and they're there to support, and that's super great. And they were loving the craft, people sitting down, just enjoying the good vibes. And I leaned over, we're back by the merch table. I leaned over to our bass player. I was like, dude, we're gonna bum some people out.
Yep.
you know. But no, it was a great show. It was 100% great show.
Yeah. So
And
when we played the first time, we played first, and then after us, there was an art piece, a live art piece.
oh dude, yeah.
And if you'd like to hear my story about it, you can download the song "Cardboard Robots" off of Cardboard Robot off of the Modrats album Huzzah. It's the first song on there. You don't even have to go far. It's not safe for work. I say fuck a lot.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that was that place inspired that. Now Mike Gentry at the time,
I
is
don't
he still doing it?
I
I
don't
don't know if he's moved on or not, but
yeah, I think so. But I mean he's
yeah.
that yeah, I definitely know. I definitely know him.
Yeah, so Mike used to be the one that booked everything at the courtroom, and he was involved with all the art stuff down there. He loved the song. He thought it was great.
Yeah.
The people I mentioned, maybe not so much. So
Well, dude, that story reminds me of and we're gonna pull this back to comics, I swear. Do you remember about were you going to shows very much like about like 7 years ago, 8 years ago? Because we were doing these shows.
Yeah,
We're
maybe
2014, 15ish. We were
I
playing
might have started dropping off around then.
we were playing Raleigh and Chapel
Yeah,
Hill and Nashville a lot. And it seemed like there always had to be in between bands. You had this lineup of about 5 hardcore bands.
yeah,
And somewhere after like the second or third band, they'd have to do some kind of fucking burlesque thing.
really.
And it was just like, what the fuck is this? I mean, it sounds like I'm bad mouthing someone's creative expression. And to be totally honest, I am. Have whatever, and it's not that it's burlesque. It's that if, okay, let's bring up someone to do a TED talk about comics in between all these bands. Fuck you. Get away. Let the bands play. That's what we're
Yeah,
here for.
yeah.
Kill the vibe. That's not, no. Why does it have to be
So
like that?
I'll tell you how we get this back to comics.
I'm glad it's not doing that anymore. I don't see that so much anymore. Do it
Well,
with
I'll tell
or
but see,
somewhere else.
we see that in comics too, though. We see people trying to shoehorn their way into an audience that doesn't want them. I think.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's not just comics. We see that in all art forms where
100%.
people go, "Oh, well, they'll you always have a bunch of people there, so I'll put this in front of them so I can get out in front of people
Yeah.
and stuff like that."
Yeah. And a lot of the times the reason why they're in front of that person is because A, they do it really well and it's something that's different,
Right.
you know?
Well, and I think a lot of times people think eyeballs matter, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
But we live in an age where things are more accessible than ever before.
Yeah.
And the likelihood is if you're putting something out there and you've been putting it out there for a while, you've actually probably gotten in front of a whole lot of eyeballs and you don't even realize it. I mean, I know at this point I've been putting art and music online in some capacity since 2004, maybe earlier. I might have spit out a few things. But you know, really focusing online since 2006,
Mhm.
2005, 2006, both music and comics.
Yep.
I think I can safely say at this point, a million people have probably looked at my stuff. I don't have a million readers.
Right.
So, and that goes back to the audience and the, you know, we talked about the normal consumer,
No,
you
yeah.
know, and so that, and that's the thing with music. You know, we didn't really touch on this, but you know, me and Levi, we both play original music,
Mhm.
and playing original music in a club is hard.
Yep.
And so for that normal consumer, that's not going to appeal to them because they want to go in and they want to hear covers of whatever the fuck they like.
Yep.
They want to hear something they know. And I get that because it's very comforting. It is.
While being able to have a conversation at their table they're sitting at.
Right. Because when I go see new bands for the first time, it's hard to enjoy it. They've got to do something special
Mm-hmm.
for me to go, whoa, I enjoyed that because I don't know their music. I haven't heard it before. And very rarely do you hear something for the first time and go, oh man, this hits me. This hits
Mm-hmm.
me. You know, usually takes a couple listens of anything before you're like, yeah.
Do you feel the same way about comics?
And that's where I was just about to say. And I think it's the same thing with comics. There are a lot of cartoonists out there that I like now that you know what, Junji Ito is one. You know, I mentioned when
Yep.
in our manga episode when I first saw him in Pulp, I was like, this is disturbing. And you know, it took me getting a second issue of Pulp and finding myself really without thinking about it going straight to that Junji Ito story and going, why am I reading this? Because it kind of disturbed me. And now that's something that I seek out. So I had to see it several times before I was like, oh yeah, this is something I'm interested in.
Mhm.
And so it's, you know, all art forms and putting stuff out there to try and build an audience is hard.
Yep.
It takes time and it's a marathon. And
Yeah. And it's a personal
you know,
investment. Like,
it's
you know,
absolutely a
and I've
personal investment.
we've talked about it with comics where here I printed my comic and it cost me X amount for this table at this convention. It cost me X amount of gas to get here. It cost me this much for my hotel. You know, so I got to price my floppy, my standard size floppy, you know, at $12 for one issue to make my money back. I've seen that with bands. And they may be
Oh
signed
yeah.
they may be signed to a small label that gave them an advance and they're trying to make their advance back. But like you said, I've seen them for the first time and
And don't take an advance.
I'm interested. And okay, so they got a 12-inch vinyl slab, and yeah, that's $30. I'm like, I'm not paying $30
No,
for a record of a band I've loved all my life.
no. I'll be honest. Well,
I
even
want to
I
support you.
mean,
I'd rather just hand
well,
you a $10 bill for gas than
and
spend, but you know,
I mean, and I'd see it with local bands all the time too. You know, pricing their stuff way too high. We sold our CDs for $4.
yeah.
Um, and I forget who we went through, but we got shrink wrapped CDs, not an involved CD booklet or whatever, but they were like $1 a CD or something like that. It
Mm-hmm.
was super reasonable, totally fine with me.
Yep.
And we sold them for $4. It was only, you know, four times cost or whatever, but we'd make a few bucks and we'd get the fucking music out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and um,
You know,
so
our 12-inch record, I can't imagine cost any more to press than anyone else's record. It's $10.
yeah,
$10, you get two bands.
yeah. So yeah, no, it's, you know, it's hard, guys. It's hard. It's
You
hard.
know, but
And
make sure
you
you're
know
not
what?
sabotaging yourself with your shit, you know?
No.
You
And,
know,
And I'd also say, so you're more likely to, and when I say it's still a lottery, you're more likely to hit big with music than you are with comics. But
Yeah.
without naming names, because honestly, there's too many. Me and Levi have guaranteed seen new bands with very little material, maybe an album under their belt, hit it big, or what you would assume is big,
Yep.
and then completely implode afterwards.
Yep.
So it's nothing's ever a guarantee, when it comes to anything.
Not at all.
So, but yeah, this was a fun conversation. I know we probably talked about music more than we talked about comics,
But
but
that's
I
kind of
think
like,
that's, well, we're gonna talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. You're gonna listen to it, but
and that's how you found your audience.
and that's not well, Ryan guy's real mean. But we just wanted to talk about an experiences we've had in other art forms, and
Yeah, for better for worse.
yeah,
Are we people to say, oh, take our advice because we obviously know what the fuck we're talking about? Um, you know, be that as it may. As far as bands go, my band's, at a point where everything's self-sufficient.
yeah,
Sometimes we get a little payout, but if we need to put a record out, run merch, do whatever we need to do, stay in a hotel, have a meal on the road, it doesn't come out of our ass.
yeah,
So, and I'll tell you this, there was a couple of years Santa Claus was subsidized by band money.
yeah,
So, you can take that for whatever that's fucking worth. And
yeah,
if the comics can get to that point as well, I'm stoked. Hell, I'm stoked on it now just to be able
right.
to do it. And every now and then,
But also, not to cut you off,
no, yeah,
but no anger control didn't start last week.
no, no,
So
it's been 11 years.
and yeah, no, and that's a big talking point. How long? 11 years.
11 years.
11 years.
Yep.
11 years to get to the point that Levi's talking about.
And I've been trying to figure out how to retire from doing the shit for the last 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but every time I'm like, oh dude, what am I doing this for? And then we play a show like last Friday or the last show at Amos's, like all the pro stuff,
Just get your drummer to move an hour and a half away. That's what we did.
So on that note, man, yeah, great conversation. And we kind of had been dipping our toe in this subject for probably every time we've talked.
Yep.
But that's our take, man. We're indie comics, indie music. There are lessons to be learned from both that can be pulled into the other.
Absolutely. All right.
Sounds
Do
good
the
to
damn
me,
thing.
do the damn thing.
Do it.